bring in Senator John Thune, the Senate's second-ranking Republican. He is co-sponsoring a bipartisan bill that would temporarily prevent the end of Title 42. Senator, good to have you with us today. I mean, it seems like when we're reporting, we just heard Jen Psaki fielding questions about Speaker Pelosi, who now has COVID, and a number of people on Capitol Hill who attended different functions over the past several days and the weekend. But yet we're talking about lifting Title 42, which is in place for the pandemic.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think if you look up the definition of insanity in the dictionary, it would have ending Title 42. That's how it would be defined. Especially right now, Martha, your reporters have already covered the data. But if you're going to triple the number of people who are attempting to come here illegally, we've already seen about 150,000 per month now trying to come into the country illegally. And you go from, 5,000 or 6,000 a day to 18,000 a day. Just think of what that does. The Border Patrol is going to be absolutely overwhelmed, which is why states like Texas are taking matters into their own hands. But this is just absolute insanity, and it's got to stop. And Democrats are pleading with the administration not to do this, particularly at a time, as you point out, that the pandemic is still around. You got people who are getting diagnosed as positive with COVID. They got other policies that they're extending, including masking for children under 5 in Head Start facilities, which is another sort of insane policy. But nevertheless, this issue with the border is going to be a huge problem on a humanitarian level, on a national security level, on a law enforcement level, because, as you know, in addition to people who are trying to come here because they want to come to this country for maybe the right reasons, there's a lot of criminal activity, a lot of trafficking, drugs, weapons, human sex trafficking across the border. And the number one killer in this country of people 18 to 45 is fentanyl. Where is it coming from? Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one poll that showed 56%, the highest number of opposition to anything that President Biden is doing is against this, against lifting Title 42 for precisely the reason that you mentioned. It doesn't really make sense, given the fact that we're also told we're running out of money for treatments, for vaccines, for tests at the federal level, and now they have a vaccine program that they finally put in place at the border. So, I mean, it just raises a lot of questions about how ready we are for any of this. With regard to Governor Abbott, putting his own people in place to try to defend the border, and then putting people on buses who volunteer, because they're going to all these other places and states anyway. So if they say, I'd like to go to Washington, D.C., I have family there, he's going to offer them a bus ride to Washington, D.C., Senator. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's going to be a rude awakening for people when people across the country have to see what border states are experiencing on a daily basis. And you're absolutely right, Martha. The messages being sent by the administration with respect to the pandemic are so contradictory, and asking for additional funding to deal with the effects of the pandemic at a time when you're saying, okay, we're going to throw open the border and we're going to have literally tens of thousands of people, we don't know their vaccine status, we don't know their health status, coming across this country. And, Title 42 has been successful in keeping about a million people who are trying to come here illegally in this last year from coming into the country. When you start opening the floodgates, you are going to create incredible incentives and put up a welcome sign, and people are going to start coming in droves. And that is just going to flat overwhelm our border states, but every other state is going to start seeing the effects of that when the numbers and the volume swell to what's being predicted if they move forward with this policy change.
Well, you have a bipartisan group that's looking for the detailed plan and the solution. I know there are a lot of people who'd still like to see President Trump's idea of building a wall. When I see all of those guardsmen and women creating their own wall with plastic, with their shields at the border, I think, well, that's a wall, essentially. They're trying to do that, and we've seen them doing it with some of the vehicles that they have at the border as well. So anyway, we'll see. Thank you so much, Senator. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Martha. Yep.
Senator
Bye.
John Thune of South Dakota, the second-ranking Republican in the Senate. So